So roughly about a year ago, we were sitting right here in this very spot and really in a hopeless time for me and my family. And we were going through a storm and we're kind of at our wits' end. And so, we had been praying and seeking God and just getting nowhere. Started going, to our friends and telling them about what was going on with Collyns and going through the situation, the scenarios and different things and getting all their opinions and everything. But the main thing, and I think Katie could say the same, but is just we could really feel the prayers. For me, it was one time in particular when I leaned in on the deacon body, and Brother Jason, he was here one night when I was just totally beside myself and brought me back to where I needed to be. And then I shared that with the deacon body, and it was the prayers in that room that I could literally feel the walls of our situation starting to tear down. I'm getting emotional thinking about it, but for me, that was when I knew everything was going to be okay. God was right there with us.
A year ago, it was a hard time for our family. We were literally at the bottom of the ocean. Like, it just felt like I was never going to get to the top. And it was day after day, and things just were not getting better. We were praying, we were asking for prayer, but I think it was at the point where we started to admit to our family and our close friends that, hey, this is what we're going through and it's awful, and I literally cannot pray anymore. I don't even have the words to say, and I don't want to, quite honestly. And it was at that point where they literally come in and literally lowered us to Jesus, because that's exactly what it took. And I think at that point we realized that, once people were really, really praying for us, when we couldn't anymore, it was reliance that it's okay to rely on other people and let them help you pray. And I think once we got to that point and total surrender and really admitting to the Lord, like, this is you, this is what you're going to do. She's yours. She's just ours for here on earth. She's yours. Please show us what we're supposed to, depict for her, and let it point directly back to you. And I think it was a point where we had friends basically call us a Wednesday night service for our family. And that night we just had worship, and that night when I went to the altar, and I literally lay there and just cried and just told God that I would let him do whatever it was, just whatever I was willing to do. I was willing to surrender, whatever it was. And when I got up from that altar, I knew that at that point that it was about to get better, and it did.
And as we're coming up out of the valley that we were in, it was still days that were struggle, and the anxiety was, the anticipating of the phone calls. Are we going to get a phone call from school? What's happening? The worry and everything. All those things were still there inside of me and Katie, and even up to this past week, I've still every now and then had those same thoughts.
Things got better. They got better for us, but she was still, there was something in her still fighting that we didn't know about. And I can just remember going back to Bible school, like the week of Bible school, I kept thinking, this is going to be it. Like, this is what we've been waiting for. And, it didn't happen, but it wasn't his time.
A year ago, I heard her pray a prayer, and my spirit just couldn't get settled that she was where she needed to be. And I think that's okay. just saw a lot of growth, but knew that God was, I didn't feel that she had totally surrendered to Him. So, it was.
It wasn't growth just for her. It was growth for you, for me, for Emerson, for our friends, our family. It was growth for everybody.
Yeah, it was making me and Katie, it was making us ask ourselves, what is it that you're trying to teach us? Why is it that I can't get this settling feeling out of my soul? And it was because she hadn't surrendered. Anyway, the other night, we were doing our Bible study. It's something that the girls and I do every night, James David. And we were reading this book. It's a children's book. And so every night, one of them reads a story and the other one prays. Well, this particular night, it was the 13th. And we were getting ready for bedtime, and Collyns said, "It's my turn to read." And she opened it to Jesus healing the blind man. This is a story that I know she's read and heard me read, and as she read it, I could hear something in her voice. And anyway, Emerson's flopping around and not really paying attention. So when she gets done reading, I was directing the question at Emerson when I said, "So Emerson, tell me what we just read." And she said, "About Jesus and the blind man?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "So what was the story about?" And Collyns said, "The blind man had sin in his life, and that's the reason he was blind." And Emerson said, "Yes," and she said, we were all one time blind, Collyns." And she said, "But me and Daddy, we have Jesus in our heart, and we're not blind. Jesus has opened up our eyes and removed the scales from our eyes." And I asked Collyns, I said, "So," Collyns looked at me, I'm sorry, she looked at me and she said, "Well, I'm blind."
So the other night, as I was reading, we asked a few questions, and I said I was blind, and just like the blind man, and if I got saved, then I could see again, and I got saved. That's all I could remember.